Hi, I'm Kachow. What?
Hi, I'm also Kachow.
Hi, I'm the third Kachow.
Hi, Kachow.
Kachow.
Oh, wow.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name is Adrian,
And I'm Alex.
and today we have two returning guests. Guest
Yeah.
Lauren. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Lauren. Is that good? Lauren.
Please stand.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, Lauren Nicole Myers. I'm a artist online.
And returning guest Tanner.
Yeah, I'm Tanner. I'm an archaeologist, and I guess I occasionally come on here and try not to bring up too many stories about times that I was mean.
It's great. I loved it. I don't
No,
understand why
we're
you
here
keep
for it. I'm
apologizing
here for
it. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck the haters.
Yeah, they have to get through us first, okay? But yes, so
No.
today we're going to talk about partners. The main thing I kind of want to talk about is just like, is your SO or just an individual that you're interested in D&D, or do y'all share it, some other kind of interest, and that's why you get along? And is it okay?
Adrian, of
What?
course we share other interests. If you're dating or in a relationship with somebody, I hope you have other interests.
Look, I got only room for so much in my life, okay?
Okay,
It's-
hold on. Can we unpack that for a second? Adrian, you know
Yeah.
you need to have like more than one thing in common, maybe.
What?
Hopefully.
What do you mean? I don't get that.
I-
I'm just kidding.
just-
Yes,
just
of
What
course
if
you
that
need more
thing
diversity.
Consumes your life, If that's all they do, then it's good.
See, this is the conversation we're gonna have.
Boundaries.
We have boundaries. I've had boundaries. I think I've had boundaries. I don't
You've
know.
had boundaries,
Yeah.
but not currently.
Well, there's no one there to have boundaries with, right?
Remember, he lives in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
You can set rules for yourself.
Oh gosh, and that's perfect podcast material. All right, but yeah, Alex, do you want to talk about other stuff before you hit pause?
I
Do you feel
am
very
never going to
trou-
speak ill of my husband, but no, I cannot get him to play. I've tried every entrance to Dungeons and Dragons that I could think to do to get somebody interested. Like, hey, I know you really like talking. You get to talk. Hey, I know you like building stories. We can build stories. Hey, I know there's a therapy aspect that you could probably work through if there's something that you want to talk about, or like there's another persona you want to be. Okay, you like theater? There's like a theater aspect that you get to play somebody. No. Okay, here's some yellow dice, and maybe that'll just no. So on that,
So what's the hesitation from him there then?
oh, I will grab him and we can talk about it.
You're supposed to be the representative.
Oh no. I don't know. I think it's just the overwhelming rules and maybe the stereotypes that go along with Dungeons and Dragons, and then trying to find a group that doesn't actually hold those stereotypes, right? So, and I'm a little bossy. I mean, just like a little bossy. And so where I'm trying to be helpful with him, it comes across as, hey, you should be doing this because you're really bad at it. Ugh, I'm working on that part. And like, we're trying to work through cooperative games. But Dungeons and Dragons does not happen to be on the list of cooperative games. But that doesn't stop me from trying.
Alex,
Well-
have you tried to play Overcooked with him?
So I try to play Overcooked at a party with him, and he needs time to work through things and puzzles, and so we've played like, oh, what's the game with that you're trying to guess the marbles, like Mastermind? Is it that Mastermind? You're like,
The colors
have
and the sequence, right?
yeah, the color sequence. Yes. He doesn't like it because he gets overwhelmed, and in that anxiety, he stops using his higher brain, turns into emergency mode. And so where I can explain his logic and thinking because we've been together for 6 years now, I can see where he was thinking and like I can explain that, but the actual like finishing part is not there. So we got more work to do. As I just
I'm-
air out his laundry.
That's what we're here to do. Air out our partners. I thought that was that what we came here to do. No?
Hey, I'm
Yes.
down
Let's
with
make
it.
it happen. I mean, so like I feel like there's a solution to each of these, but it's not all the same solution. Because I feel like a lot of people got into D&D through podcasts, like because of Critical Role, and there's a couple of other big ones. But
Adventure Zone, all that stuff. NADPOD.
Adventure Zone's the one I'm thinking of in particular because it's a lot more jokes and lighthearted, and it's not like a bunch of nerds with lists and stuff, which can help like the image for people. Because I know even like in high school, and my friend was like, "My dad knows D&D; he could teach us," and I was like, "I'm not that much of a nerd," and I totally am. But on the rules note, though, maybe the solution is to not play actual Dungeons and Dragons so much as a different tabletop game first. The one that I have, I forget who played it, but there's one called Lasers and Feelings, and it's basically got two things you roll for, and it's, are you going to try to murder or are you going to try to talk it down? So it's, are you using a laser or are you using your feelings? And it sort of strips away a lot of the numbers and other nonsense that gets between people and actually engaging with a story.
I like that. I've written it down for further investigation. I do remember pre-COVID, so BC.
BCE now, let's be inclusive.
It's BC 19, right? Anyways, I had the opportunity we were talking about joining a game with another friend of mine and her fiance, now husband, and I had an almost, like, it was like, yeah, I'll come with you. It doesn't sound too bad because honestly, they're not nerdy. It doesn't look like that. They're like theater kids, so it wasn't as bad as it potentially could be. But with
I would say that
COVID,
could potentially be much worse.
we don't tell him that though. But yeah, there's that aspect of, I would like him to play. I think it would be a fun bonding time. I love playing games, but that just wasn't, I grew up with games, playing Scrabble and Clue. And then the groups of people that I found in college continued that nerdery, playing World of Warcraft, and then ultimately playing everything else. I think my gateway drug was Pandemic, which is ironic now.
That was one of our first board games as
my
well that like
gosh.
really kicked it off. Now, when you say you grew up with games, are you saying he did not grow up with games? Like, is this
No.
he banged rocks together in Siberia?
Well, like tennis and marching band, but that was the extent. But they're I guess they're car people. That sounds like a different type of people, but
Car people?
they're car
Or
people.
half human, half
Yes.
car, you know?
Like Pixar's hit plastic cars?
Yes, my husband is part car, part human.
Ooh, what kind?
Ooh, no.
Volkswagen?
No,
Truck?
we entered here. Tell us the make and model.
Honestly, I think he's gonna kill me. I'm never letting him listen to this podcast ever. I think he'd be at like a 1960s model Trans Am,
Okay.
yellow.
I wish I knew what cars looked like.
I just pictured old car. I don't know what cars look like either. But
I'm taking a guess because I mean, like, if I think about him, I think about like good
a really
rock.
old machine.
No, I think about like rock music, like old. I don't know, Steely Dan. I don't know who fuck Steely Dan is. Let me be honest. It sounds like
sounded
a
the
right
right
answer.
person.
That is my favorite character from the movie Cars from Pixar.
Oh man.
Dropping a picture for reference for the 1960 Trans Am because I didn't know either. So 3 out of 4 people didn't know exactly what you were talking about.
roughly what I imagined when you said that. That's old nice car.
Yeah,
So,
and here I am, like I would have no fucking idea up until I had to actually pretend that I liked things like that and then ended up understanding, designs of cars and things. So I think on the reaching out to the significant other's interests, I've maybe done a better job of it. But we're trying to get them into Dungeons and Dragons. I
Ooh.
guess. What?
sorry,
No.
is that Steely Dan? I
That is
honestly thought Steely Dan was a made up name. It sounded made up. It sounded like Stevie Nicks and like something else mixed together.
No, Steely Dan's a real band.
Wow.
I knew Steely Dan was real. I'm just really bad at remembering songs by individual artists.
But Adrian mentioned Adventure Zone, and so they have little arcs in their podcasts. Like they're largely contained, and there's not a whole lot of
Mhm.
numbers. It's mostly jokes. But their third arc is Pedal to the Metal, and the whole it's like 3 episodes long.
I'm
and
in it
it's
right now.
okay, yeah. So like Death Race, like that could maybe if you could drag him in, going, look, you can like live your darkest car fantasies using this.
Oh man, can we just get on a tangent? This definitely does not become a. This is definitely earning our R rating right now.
Oh god.
The most traumatic fan fiction I have ever read in my whole entire life is a Cars fan fiction that definitely included tentacle porn. Like
How did you get-
tentacle.
Where
Oh.
were you? I'm so
Okay, I don't know how I got there. I was a wee child on the Tumblr.
Oh, that'll
on-
do it.
that explains everything.
Checks out.
Yep. So like Lightning McQueen ends up going to dock and like gets lifted up. And then thus begins the tentacles and parts of Cars. It
Wow.
was weird.
Thank you for sharing, Alex.
This is Tumblr before it's changed for you youngins
Oh my
out there.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's seen better days.
Was that before it's changed? That sounds like prime Tumblr.
That was prime Tumblr. That had to be. If I was on it, it was prime Tumblr. But he will listen to the podcasts if they're on. So I've had Adventure Zone on. He laughs. I walk him through and explain it, but it's still like, okay, but like you got to do the extra work to play a character, or I can build a character for you and we can play. And I think it's just finding the right group of people to play with, maybe our next step. And if we could touch our friends and be in person in public, I think it'd be a lot easier.
I mean, touching friends sounds like an entirely different game.
That's true.
I miss it. Don't worry, I miss it.
I miss it too. I was thinking about all the hugs I was going to give, like as soon as I start seeing people, like how hugs are going to happen.
Some of my
Beware.
friends aren't huggers, and I feel like it's going to be even worse now because they're not going to have like felt the touch of a human being in so long they might run.
Gosh, sorry. I didn't realize it until now. All the pent up hugs I have, I just don't know what to do with them now.
Don't you have a dog?
I do, and I'm about to hug the hell out of her later. She's like, "Put me down," and I'm like, "Haha, no." I love that girl.
I don't know why I pictured with a big ass mustache. Like you just stick on the giant mustache in order to just hug her.
Yes. Just for fun. It's just made of large tendrils of hair.
You almost said tentacle.
Tentacles.
I
And
just
now
went
we're back at
for
cars.
cars.
There we go.
I'm so sorry.
I can't believe you've done this to us, Alex.
You asked me to go first. Whose fault is this?
Nobody's
really?
but my own, I guess. I have brought
Yep.
everybody together here to just talk about fanfics of cars. I brought you in with the context of D&D, and now look at us now.
Everything, all roads lead to the 2006 hit classic Cars.
Okay,
So long story short, I don't play with my husband. I never. You know what? Now that I think about it, I haven't played with any of my significant others. They were always too cool for the nerd things.
Womp womp.
Do they not have nerd friends?
I I didn't want to admit that I was a nerd, even though I played World of Warcraft.
What is I guess what I want to ask now is what is everyone's like kind of claim to nerdom? Like I was the World of Warcraft for a second before I realized it just consumed my life entirely, and then I got into just a lot of video games, and then now D&D and video games.
Yeah, I guess. Oh God, where do I start? I think. I think for me, it was probably peak in like middle school when I discovered what anime was and that I'd been watching it since a child, since like being little, and being like, oh, this is gonna be my entire personality now. And I was one of those. And I went to cosplay on, conventions and all of that stuff. And all of my friends were anime nerds and everyone else hated us, and they have a right to have hated us. Yeah, and then I guess, Glee was a big thing for me. That's where my personality went after I kind of like walked away from anime. So I was obsessed with Glee for multiple years and everyone hated me again. And and then musical theater, and yeah, I guess now it's was there a I guess between musical theater and just being a gay and that being my whole
That'll do it.
personality for a while. So such a much to her dismay. I didn't start out this way, but she should have known what she was getting into, that there's a possibility for any new obsession to start at any point in my life.
Are you the type of individual who just like latches onto something and you're like, oh my god, I want all of this now? Like, I want to say because I've seen your TikToks, your like Sailor Moon and all that stuff. Like, I have to see all of it.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a collector though. Like the way that I obsess over things is it doesn't manifest in like, I've seen other people's like rooms and their houses and stuff where they're like, they collect every Sailor Moon figurine and, have pink houses and I'm like drooling over it, but I'm not going to do that. Like I don't have those things. So like looking at places I live, you wouldn't know what's inside my head.
That's for the inside thoughts only.
Mm-hmm. That's for the implosion of having too many feelings.
All right, Tanner.
Oh. I mean, yeah, I think I was always bad at sports and hated outdoors. So, like, yeah, video games probably kicked it off. Harry Potter probably.
Oh yeah, that was me too. I don't.
Yeah.
I think I just dropped that in my mind. Glanced over that.
It's been rough recently being like Harry Potter. But yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings movies and the Matrix movies. So like once you get like, that like early 2000s era, like where all the sci-fi and fantasy stuff came out, once you locked in there, there's pretty much no going back from nerddom. I wouldn't say being a big O gay would make me a nerd when she said it, but I think about it, and all of my friends from that time period in high school, we're pretty much all just a bunch of pansexual nerds at this point, and I'm wondering if there's an overlap now.
Mm-hmm. I'll answer that for you right now. Yeah,
I will also confirm.
Okay, well, we've really made some strides for the stereotype now. And then I did end up in theater, and then that, just like dialed up the dramatics up to 9 just in my day-to-day life more than it already was. And then I just I guess found a way to continue being a nerd with my career. And that's, I mean, yeah, and then D&D really is like the badge of like I've hit peak, because like past this is like LARPing, and then that's one step further than I can go, I think. Dressing up, love it. D&D, love it. Dressing up and pretending to do the D&D, I don't have the confidence.
So since it's Ren season, where do Renaissance festivals fall into this whole category?
Oh, you got to go to those. So for my job, I'm often in the middle of nowhere, staring at the ground, looking for whatever's going on. And so we come across bones a lot and feathers. And I've taken a lot of bones in the past. You'd be surprised how great a cow pelvis bone like fits as like a chest plate and pauldrons.
Ooh.
And so I've got some really incredible barbarian outfits in the past for all this. And this last week, I finally took my huge bag of feathers that I've been collecting while I'm out in the field for work. And I am slowly and painstakingly attaching cloth to each of them because I want a full feather cloak. I wanna really look like a shaman. So Renaissance fairs are a must.
I respect that so much. I can't even begin to tell you.
I need it so bad.
Wait, let me find this thing because the cow pelvis is really.
I have never been to a Ren fair.
What's wrong with you?
Never got around to it. My friends are very non-committal to go do things, so we've thought of the idea. We've played with the idea, but I've never been.
My first Ren fair was the year before the pandemic, and I loved it so much. And I was like, I can't wait to, dress up even better next year. And, I'm going to do this every year now. Nope.
Full stop.
Immediate full stop. And it's like, okay, all right. Well, we'll pick that up later, I guess.
Oh my God, yes.
You did all the cosplay and you didn't do Ren fairs?
I didn't know of any where I grew up in Louisiana and like South Louisiana, and I just didn't know of those, I guess. I don't know if they have them now. I don't know if they had them then, but nobody I knew told me about anything like that. So unfortunately, no, it was missing my entire life.
Oh God, and I wonder if there's one in Hawaii. Surely somewhere in Hawaii, right?
You can start it.
Oh God.
It's a lot of responsibility, my dudes.
It sure is. But
Oh,
who's to
man.
say? I don't know how long I'll even be here. We'll see. We've dabbled in the idea of moving to Texas, but I don't know.
Everybody's moving to Texas.
Just cheap housing, my dudes.
Mm-hmm. And they've got some good Renaissance fairs.
Oh yeah.
That's true. We have Scarborough Fair in Waxahachie, which is just right outside of Dallas, which is going on this weekend. Recording time, not posting time, I think.
And then there's another one in Austin that is a Sherwood, I believe. And then there's the really big one in Houston, which is the Texas Renaissance Fair, I think is what they call it. I think that's it. If I've forgotten, it's going to be bad because I got married there.
Hell yeah.
Oh man,
That's a whole mood right there.
God, that's so cool.
that is really cool.
The costumes.
Yes.
Yes, they're perfect. And the idea of getting married at the Renaissance Festival, because that does sound like something that, you could go revisit every year and you're like, oh, rekindling the relationship. But that also has the adverse effect of if you all break up, then fuck. You've got that memory associated, and hopefully it's not, a bad moment of I can never go back to a Renaissance Festival without breaking out in tears.
Better than getting married at Disney, I guess, and then Disney is kind of.
Oh yeah, because that's omnipresent,
Disney would never be ruined for me. If I got married at Disney, it would never.
You're a Disney
Maybe
kid,
certain areas.
right?
What?
You're a Disney kid. You worked there.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So that's
So-
Alex. So that's Alex's claim to nerd.
So, okay, yeah. I'll go through my history. So I grew up with a Disney kid. My parents shoved those down my throat. I wore the Little Mermaid tape out until it wasn't able to play anymore. I did 2 copies, one with my aunt and then one with my actual family. My aunt is my actual family, but like my mom and my dad. So
Wait,
I started with
ruined 2 copies?
I ruined 2 copies of just playing it constantly. So when I lived up in Massachusetts, my aunt's version of babysitting was putting me down in the basement, putting the Little Mermaid on, and then I would come upstairs and then say, hey, can you restart it? And then she would restart it, and then I would go back downstairs and I would watch it again. That's it. That's all you had to do.
That's
I cope really well with being alone.
Is it still the Little Mermaid, or have you shifted on to different pastures?
Have you just been replaying The Little Mermaid? How many
Just
times have you watched The
constantly.
Little Mermaid this last year?
I couldn't okay, hold on. Let's talk about some things.
Oh
First
my
of all,
God.
you're not going to come on and attack me like this on my own podcast. Second of all, Disney Plus has been a beautiful, lovely magic portal for me because I watch those movies when I go to bed. And so I have a rotation of all of like the Renaissance Disney movies, and I put them on while I go to bed. And if I know if I'm not asleep by a certain time, I'm not going to get to sleep. So like, I know by the time Sebastian starts to sing with all the mermaids there, I'm not sleeping at all, but I'm usually out before then.
So if
Anyways,
you hit that line, you stay awake and finish it.
I'll stay awake and finish it. hmm hmm
Love that.
Like in Aladdin, I'm asleep before they finished. Like Robin Williams finishes his like bizarre scene at the very beginning.
Gotcha.
I don't know. There's something comforting. Okay, quit.
I didn't know. Now we know. Okay.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. This is
So I
That's
started
tough.
with Disney, and then I was in middle school, which was just the perfect time to have any sort of crush on any sort of person. So Lord of the Rings was my jam, and Harry Potter. So those were my two claims to fame. I have a binder, and I still have this binder because of reasons, nostalgia, if you will, that I have every ticket stub that I had when I saw Lord of the Rings in the theater. I also have a lot of cutouts from the magazines and just fan pictures and collages of both Elijah Wood and Orlando Bloom. I have
Both of the most beautiful boys.
Oh my God, right? Um, so I had all of those in the middle school years. I was in marching band, so that automatically gives you a level of nerd in the music. I was a ska kid, so that it hasn't gone anywhere. I just reopened my Cat Empire love and my Streetlight Manifesto. That's
My condolences.
Oh, I know. I can't touch anything checkerboard without my husband saying something to me, and I fucking hate it because I want checkerboard. I want like little checkerboard touches everywhere because like
And
nostalgia.
it just looks like you've like plastered Van shoes everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Mhm.
saying? Is that the
Yeah.
vibe I'm getting?
Yeah, I wasn't the Van, so just for the record, I was not a Van ska kid. I was a Converse Chucks, but I had the Hot Topic checkerboard shoelaces. And
Naturally.
whatever other shoelaces I had, there were like 4 sets of shoelaces on my shoes like at all times. I didn't know I was going to be attacked like this right now.
Is your
Oh, I owned a pair of the checkerboard Vans. So and I know one Streetlight Manifesto song that I like, and then I don't think I ever got too into ska. And I was in marching band, so it's the same track. Not attacking, just pointing at that.
No.
Every girl I liked in high school had checkerboard Vans and was in the band, so you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't one
Yeah.
of them, but
You
Oh,
wait,
man.
you weren't one of the girls you liked in high school.
no, there's some deeply rooted issues there.
Oh man. So okay, so there's their high school. Would continue with Lord of the Rings, and then college was World of Warcraft, and really just being okay with playing nerdy games. And I think now, obviously, with the emergence of Marvel, I think I'm a little more of a comic book kind of person. And I guess we can throw Harley Quinn and Batman in there somewhere, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like now in my years, it's like I would rather read books. So I'm reading the Court of Thorns and Roses for the third read through because I can.
Keep
And
getting
if you
recommended that one.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 You can read the first 3. You can avoid the Court of Starlight. It's a fan fiction, and I fucking am pissed that I paid money to get it signed and to have like a pin. It's a fucking fan fiction, which is it's fine, but don't release it as something that was like should blow my mind. I have not read the fourth/fifth one that's coming out that just came out because I'm rereading the other ones. So, yes, if you like Beauty and the Beast and you like that idea, or maybe not like the idea, but like we still are there.
Kidnapping women?
I mean, yes.
I like Dan
Um,
Stevens. Does the book have Dan Stevens?
It could. You can pretend that Dan Stevens. Well, hold on. Chubby Dan Stevens or skinny Dan Stevens or all Dan Stevens?
Chubby? What are you
my
talking about?
Downton Abbey was the best.
Okay. I think these days I mostly think of Dan Stevens and God, what's that? The Eurovision movie.
Oh my God,
from
yes.
Will Ferrell. It's not my favorite role of his, but when someone says Dan Stevens, I do just picture him shirtless with like an ankle-length robe, like with fur trim.
Oh my God.
I have to keep
If,
looking
like,
up things.
George Michael wasn't like a whole mood. No.
George
George
Michael.
Michael. Thank you. Wasn't a whole fucking mood. Ah, yes. Thank you, Adrian.
I'm gonna have to come back to this conversation and like, hey guys, the things we reference, here's images because I didn't know, and here's
your footnote.
Here's your footnote, please.
Who is that man?
Dan Stevens.
It's Dan Stevens. So Dan Stevens was on a little bit of a baby show called Downton Abbey. He was also the Beast in the live action, although maybe not the best version, Beauty and the Beast. He was also in Eurovision. He's an actor.
He's also in a quite intense horror movie on Netflix called Apostle, and he's got wild eyes. He's almost always a little unhinged, but in that one in particular,
was he on Legion?
Yes.
Okay, he was also in Legion. There you go.
I know that one.
As this is an audio medium, picture a handsome white dude, and you're probably there.
Yes.
That's about the gist of it. He just plays
A
very
British white
interesting
man.
roles. Anyway, so Dan Stevens is not in these books.
No, but he could be. He could be. You could picture Dan Stevens as the main character love interest in the first book.
That's true, though. I mostly do audiobooks, and I do pick actors and actresses for roles in the book so I can more firmly picture the faces.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually had I'm reading
You're gonna need more than faces for these books.
Well, I'm reading my first set of the first fantasy romance books ever, like for me. And it's just like a little gay romance with some elves. And I was like, it was right as Call Me By Your Name, like the song, not the movie, came out. And so like I was like, okay, Lil Nas is definitely one of these characters.
What is this book?
What's the book?
Yeah.
I think the first one's Cloaked in Shadow. Is it the best fiction you'll ever read? No. But I think it's still quite good. It's very entertaining. I've blew through the first one in 2 weeks, and I'm on the second one already. But I don't know. I've read so much Brandon Sanderson at this point, meaning all of it, that I had to pick up something else to sort of take a break.
That's a lot of content.
All of Brandon Sanderson's books?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I've countless hours of listening on Audible to like basically the same narrators for each of the books too. So I'm pretty deep in that fandom at this point.
I'm so sorry. I've got to scroll up so that Dan Stevens' piercing blue eyes aren't staring me down.
They're good though, right? It's a good set of piercing blue eyes, or is it an uncomfortable set of piercing blue eyes?
I understand why he was cast as a serial killer. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, he can get super intense in all of those roles. And that's, I guess, why they're also like, hey, who should we get for a singing Russian oligarch in a Will Ferrell movie? And they're like, oh, I know just the guy. Buckle up.
All right. Alex,
Adrian,
was that the
you have to give us your whole rundown of your
Okay,
history.
I'll be a little bit more in depth than just video games, okay? Got really into WoW, got really into Halo 3. Like, it consumed my life. I was like, there's nothing else other than those things in school, and I passed all my grades, and I was fine. And then I got into college, and I wasn't fine. I just realized that that schooling system was just super easy. Uh, when I got into college, I started D&D very sporadically. Started to get into some kind of sort of anime. Actually, no, scratch that. Anime was in very early. They let me go take laptops home. So like up until like 2 in the morning when I was like a wee little lad, I would just open the laptop underneath my pillow, and as soon as I heard my parents, I'd close it, slide it underneath my bed, and just like pretend I wasn't there asleep. And then I'd go back to it. And so I finished like all of Naruto, and then I realized, wow, this is anime. So Cowboy Bebop, I saw one episode and I found it again, and I'm like, oh my god, I only saw this once in a hotel room in Florida. I get to see all of it now. I was super excited to finish up Cowboy Bebop, and then yeah, D&D, anime, and video games is my extracurricular activity other than work and studying and yeah, and I stopped drinking heavily recently, so that's good. I'm not the same man I used to be.
Wow, nerd.
Oh,
You s- I'm not the same man I used to be. You don't sound sober.
oh boy, I'm a little bit more eloquent, like 2 to 3 drinks in, a lot less
Ah,
mentally like pausing and reevaluating the words that are coming out of my mouth.
It's the anxiety part.
I always have
Like, am
anxiety.
I saying the right thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I always wanted to have the right words because the right words never used to come to me very well. I didn't feel like I was interesting, blah blah blah. So that when I started drinking, I stopped worrying because I had to just. You got to do the next word right now. You can't think about that previous word. You just got to keep going. So that's how that kind of went.
that sounds like ADHD.
Oh, it's whatever. It's
I'm speaking from experience on that one. You gotta blurt out whatever's crossing your mind, or it'll be gone forever.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, slowly people have been like talking about like the effects of depression because like I was in an intake and they were talking about. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's me more than I thought I was. I mean, I know I have depression, but I didn't know I had that much depression. They're going through like symptomology, and she was like talking to a patient, and that she was checking things off, and mentally I'm like, fuck. That's me. That's me more than I thought I was. So like some of these weird tics or things I have, it could be summed up into my depression. So that was fun to realize at work yesterday.
Oh boy. Do you think doctors ever do that? Like somebody's describing problems and like a doctor fully trained goes, isn't that everyone? And then they slowly start realizing they have some sort of disorder or thing they need to be looking into.
I would think so. Like you don't think very well about the things that you're already doing when you're analyzing somebody. Like when I was talking to this guy, I was like, "Do you have any gambling problems?" And he's like, "Doesn't everybody?" And I'm like, and I checked off that
No.
mark. I was like, okay. And I'm like, nah, maybe. And I just didn't want to like sound like an asshole and just check it off like a pompous dick. But um, I'm like, yeah, that could be. I don't know. And I just checked off one of the higher ratings of gambling addiction.
Mm.
That is one thing they advertise in medical schools. If you go there, like, we have full access to counselors at any moment that you need a counselor. And usually they're pretty full. Like, I know Texas Tech's counseling center through the health sciences center is pretty full a lot of the time, mostly because of medical school students.
Oh,
That was the same way my grad school was. They're like, oh, by the way, now that this is grad school, here's the number to call for our counseling services. And I was like, I think I'm going to leave. I didn't, but it was alarming that was like one of the first things they said to us.
I would just think at a medical school they would do that because it's like, warding the students away from self-diagnosing, because it's like, though it's technically correct, because you're all doctors, maybe talk to someone else. Have access to someone else being able to tell you like, oh, you might have this thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just
I-
everybody diagnose themselves and
Yeah, exactly.
prescribe themselves medication. Just go full Hugh Laurie from House.
Josh, stop writing yourself prescriptions. No, I worry with, self-diagnosing and stuff like that too, because it's like I find myself doing that all the time in the pandemic now. Like we're, seeing TikToks. Like I do that. But it's like I'm not gonna go ask because I'm too anxious. I'm too anxious to go ask if I have anxiety and ADHD. So, it's a big shrug in the shoulders there.
I watch those TikToks, so I'm on the ADHD side, right? ADHD talk. What up? Of course. If you've listened to any episodes of this podcast, you know that. But I'm like, yeah, that's me. Okay. And then I scroll by. And then when I just had a new therapist. He was like, okay, so like, why do you think you have ADHD? And I was like, I don't
say
fucking
TikTok.
know.
Don't say
I
TikTok.
don't know.
Don't say TikTok.
I get really irritable when I can't be impulsive. Like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. But like while scrolling them, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's it. There's the box. There's the box. But then when I get face to face with a real adult human, I'm like, I don't fucking know.
And they're like, yeah, you're probably fine. You're just a woman having a mental breakdown.
A moment.
You're just having a moment. Just go take a bubble bath and you'll be fine.
Lauren, do you ever look at those articles? I know this is not going to be relevant to half of this, but do you ever read those articles of like ways that they dealt with, the quote unquote woman hysteria? And you're like, these are all, I would be in an asylum easily every time.
Oh yeah, I mean 100%. I mean, I think also, they would put they'd put women up for just wanting to have sex or orgasms, and it's like, oh no, she's just in hysteria. She's just horny. Listen, okay.
They would actually prescribe orgasms.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little
Right.
hand cranked
Vibrator.
vibrating thing.
Yeah. So back to cars and tentacles. It's all coming back together.
We said hand cranked and it was all over.
There's no coming back from that.
There's no coming in that.
You read it, so only you would know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find it. It's my mission. I don't know.
I bet if you Google that, it won't just be just one anymore.
Oh no.
You're gonna have to wade through so much other stuff before like it's just not clicking, and you just close another book, and you're like, I guess I got to read more.
Now I have all of this plethora of Cars fan fictions.
So when you go quiet here in 15 minutes, we're gonna we'll know that you've completely distracted by Steve McQueen. Ka-chow.
Oh my god. So somebody else talk about your significant other and playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I can
I can Google.
Yes. Oh God. Okay. So my last SO was only. She told me this later that she was kind of only interested in D&D was because that I was speaking so highly of it, and she wanted to get to know me better. But then she said she actually had genuine fun with me, so that was kind of cute. We only played like 2 other games because she was an engineer major, and she had no time for anything else other than like food dates, and like that's all I can do now. I have to go back to work and study for like one problem taking 3 hours, and I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot. So we didn't play much. None of my other SOs knew about my geeky side, so that was just like for later once they got to know me kind of thing.
A secret geeky.
Yeah, no, it's just always hanging out at parties and like, hey, let's.
So you're agreeing there's a stigma there because you're hiding it.
I was
from
because
people.
I think I finally kind of let it go. That like feeling of being stigmatized when it's like 24. I think roughly when I started working at PF Blangs, because copyright, I don't care. When
man,
I
so
like, I went out of my way and just like, they're like, what'd you do? Oh, I played D&D, just straight up. And I just talking about it, and they're like, isn't that nerd thing? I'm like, hell yeah, it's that nerd thing. You should try it. So I started to be more out of my shell. Before then, it was just like, yeah, I do the drinking. I mean, Yes, that's me. I drink. I'm a normal college student. I do the drinking as best as I could, and it's not like Tanner. We've drank together and we've played D&D together. So like I don't know how we started, but I don't know if it was just the drinking or both.
I don't know which came first either.
Yes, yes, it's a big blur back then. Way
Chicken or the egg.
chicken or the egg, exactly. But yeah, I didn't have too much experience with SOs knowing that I was interested in D&D. And yeah, the stigma was there, but also I was just like that was just me and my close friends kind of thing, and that's what we did. And then everything else, like I don't know, how do I connect my D&D life to like whatever gossip they're talking about in like, oh, this person did this and that person did that. I'm like, I killed a goblin. I don't know what that this doesn't relate at all, so I'm not gonna say that.
Just interject with "I killed a goblin."
And just walk away. Mystery gamer, mystery nerd. But yeah, that's the most I have with kind of experiencing D&D with a significant other. And I've like when I at this time I've always been a big advocate. Like you should definitely try it. And for the most part, I brought a lot of people to the table, but I wasn't able to get like consistent because we all worked at the same place, so we all didn't have the same schedule. So it was really tough to get a game going. But yeah, that's my experience and how I've dealt with it with partners and just how I kept it a secret and how I've plainly just said, yes, this is my favorite thing to do because it's fun and we get to tell a story and the things we do together somehow have this kind of resonant effect of like talking about it like it's a real thing that happened. And I don't know if that what that is, but it feels good. I hope that made
Makes
sense. Okay, good. You said it. It made sense. So now it's either Lauren or Tanner, whoever wants to talk
Tanner,
about
you can go first.
She said, no, not me.
skirt.
Yeah, so like let's see. I feel like I was pretty straightforward with I'm a big O nerd, but my wife was already like more into Lord of the Rings than I think I've ever been. Like I love Lord of the Rings. I've watched those movies over and over and over, had a bunch of the games, all that. But so she was already a pretty big nerd, but had never played D&D when we had started dating. So I naturally just dragged her into it and was like, all right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna get you this character. But by then I think I was also DMing already. I don't know that I've ever played with her as a player myself, but it just seemed like the natural progression of integrating someone into my life of okay, and now you're also joining my D&D campaign and just ensuring that like, oh, I know you like, Zelda and this, and just trying to find a class that connected with her personality style, which at the time did not work because I think she started off as a ranger because it's like, oh yeah, she really likes Zelda and all that, but I quickly learned that she's really into just like Hulk smash, and will just pick the characters where she can just bludgeon something to death basically, and really just go at it without having to strategize and just brute force, which is I respect it. And
May I ask a question real quick?
go for it.
Then did you ever had like before your wife, was there like a relationship where you didn't talk about it or something that just came up, or is it something that like is kind of like a part of your outward personality, like this is what I do, I'm kind of a nerd, that's just who I am, like compared to me who was just like, yes, I'm your typical college drinking guy that does the drinking.
What a great impression.
You're welcome.
I don't know. A bit of column A, a bit of column B. Before my wife, I feel like it was a little bit of a revolving door, so there wasn't anyone like around long enough for me to drag into an activity like this. But I am always like, I'm just gonna be talking about it regardless, even if it's like, oh, that's gonna be overwhelming for these people. I'm like, it'll be fine. But yeah, I think I started out with just the letting it all out there, because then like what if you hide it and then they like don't like playing anything nerdy, and then it's like, well, then what are you gonna do together? Like if you hide half of your interest, then if you end up clicking with that person, there's going to be like this weird bit of you hanging off to the side, like a misplaced Tetris block that's just blocking the path. Like it's going to be weird unless you're both happen to be hiding the fact that you have a massive bag of weird shaped dice where you can pretend to be a wizard.
I can answer that for you. You go to car shows on the weekends. That's what you do. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. I judge people so bad now.
With their like choice of cars, or
Look, okay, hold on. Here's a couple of things, right? So like I will speak to this, right? If you're gonna have a fucking $100,000 car, okay, you're gonna have a Lamborghini or some bullshit. Don't show up places with it not being fucking clean. Okay? Like we know cars get dirty, yes. But if you're gonna show it off, bring a fucking rag with you and wipe it down.
Fair.
That's it. That's where we are.
So what's the symbolism of that in D&D? Hiding. If you're gonna show up with your dice,
take
I
a
think
shower.
that's actually quite good. You gotta show up showered, because most of your primary game piece is your body. And you need to be showered, which I know in certain nerd communities and anime conventions, there's always the stereotype of the unwashed masses. So maybe there's the symbolism a little bit.
take a shower. Yeah, I think honesty is always the best policy when, getting to know somebody that you want to be with. If you don't tell them everything about you that you love, then how can you expect that they do love 100% of you, right?
Yes. Hey, real quick, I guess a little bit of a counter. So, I'm on an app. What's my first move? How do I know what to do? Do I say, "Hey, this is what I'm interested"? I don't know. I'm bad at introducing myself. So like,
Introducing yourself, or like the first move is technically the profile.
yes.
So you should just like you're walking into a board meeting, like, and put your nuts on the table sort of craziness. Like you just need to lay it out in the bio. Like, listen, I like Dungeons and Dragons, because there's plenty of people that are like, oh hell yeah, I can totally play Dungeons and Dragons with this person.
I have friends that are on the apps, and I hear about these apps all the time. I haven't been on like the newer ones, like, is it Bumble that has, or is it Hinge that has like the questions? It's like, ask me about this or something, and you can put that in
that
there.
One's, I do believe, Hinge. There's a
yeah
point in my life where I got them all. It was pretty intense. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, it was like my friends who are into D&D are on those apps, and they're like, yeah, ask me about playing D&D. Like, only talk to me if you can roll some dice with me, or whatever.
That's coming on strong. That's
how
more
we
than
roll.
just the nutsack on the meeting table.
No.
All right.
I think that's part of it. If you want your significant other, you want your partner to play those things, and that's important to you, then I think putting it out there to start with is the way to go. I would love for him to play with me, but it's not going to make it or break it. I'm not going to divorce him tomorrow because he refuses to throw a 20-sided die.
All right, so I found my profile. I haven't been on in a while. The height.
Here we go.
6'1", dog dad, host of the Dungeons and Degrees podcast. Gotta advertise, and that's my whole thing. That's my whole thing.
God, see, I'm now winding back my previous honesty clause.
Is that too much?
I feel like if I heard just like an average person on a dating app, they're like, and I host a podcast. That's a gamble. That is either going to get people go, oh, that's pretty cool, or they've met 30 other podcast hosts on the app and they're tired of it.
I think that's the card you pull out at the dinner or at the first meeting of like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I work. And like, oh, I host a podcast. And you're like, okay, you could tell me more about the podcast. But if you're like, I host a Dungeons and Degrees, look, they're already going to, if they're creepy, they can jump in and we talk about some feelings and we talk about some things. So like they could do homework on you before you even get the chance to like CV mesh.
I'm pretty fucking open usually.
I mean, I know.
What?
Go ahead.
What if you do like dog whistle style nerd references in this bio? So you could say you're 6'1". Alternatively, you could say that your height is like 2d6 plus 4. The nerds would go, oh my gosh, this guy rolls.
I'm a size medium.
And everyone else would be like, oh, something weird's going on with the app. That number is not displaying correctly.
I love this idea. I love it.
Yeah, and then you avoid what class do you think you are? Because then we could have the opportunity of taking the step to the LARPing route. So you're not quite LARPing material, but you know how to throw a D20.
Throw it back.
That's my favorite TikTok. I'm sad he left.
So do I put ask me about my class and race? I don't know if that's a good one.
Holy crap, no.
Maybe not.
Dear Tinder date, I'm looking to start a class or a race war and or eat the rich.
I'm looking for a new adventuring party.
Ask me about my manifesto.
No.
All right, I did get a match recently, and I did not come off well because I didn't know what to say because I'm fucking awkward as hell. I asked them, "What's your favorite game to play?" Nothing. That they haven't responded.
Well, then they don't. That's probably not worth it anyway.
Right.
I mean, isn't that a little jigsaw-y though? Like I don't know if I would I don't know if I would respond to that either as someone who is pursuing man-child person.
Or
Not a child.
Oh.
Just a man.
Is that a hyphenated man child or is
It's a
that
man-child. Man-child. Yep, just like man-bat, I meant man-child.
I would say like ask me about my constitution score because that's the one that's like you know exactly what they're referencing. Intelligence score, you're gonna sound like a prick. Charisma, you're gonna sound like a douche. Dexterity just sounds weird, and I know I'm missing one.
Strength.
Wisdom, you're gonna sound like a douche.
Damn.
Strength score also douche. It's really just it's all douche unless you say constitution because no one uses that word outside of
politics.
I don't know the 1800s.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe then you get like a National Treasure fan though. So
Hey, that's good. If you're me or my wife and you're a big fan of Nicolas Cage in National Treasure, that's a double whammy. That'll hook anyone.
That'll hook any two of them. The both of them that he just explained.
So there you go. If you are looking for a new adventuring party, one more is going to make it a perfect game.
I'm looking for the Riley to my Benjamin Gates. Riley, we've got to get the Constitution.
So good. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just now realizing, Adrian, are we building your
This is the only thing. I don't have a partner. I don't have a partner, so this is what I brought to the table when I thought about this. Okay,
I think building his dating platform is exactly what this is, and
this is
we
what the
really. Well, wait. First, we should hear about Lauren, and
That
then
was the email I got was that we're gonna come on the podcast and build Adrian.
we should.
That's what I came here for.
Yeah, I'm just saying we should hear from Lauren, and then we won't feel guilty when we spend the next hour and a half after that really hammering out the details about how he's gonna draw in his D&D Nicolas Cage honey. I feel weird using that noun already. Right after saying it.
It's all on you, Lauren. You're now opening, you are the gatekeeper to us building a new profile for Adrian.
Oh no. Well, well, as I said before, you know, so my fiance did not. I think when we met, she met this person who was working at an adult toy store and was a karaoke DJ and went to gay bars and drag shows and was pretty not peak nerdy, you know? Was not the
Tapestry of a human being. I just
Mhm.
got described to me. It-
So, you know, once I kind of got a little bit of a better paying job and started adulting more as our relationship went on. I don't know that I can only assume that she thought, ah, yes, I've got a good one with a good head on her shoulders. And then when I realized that D&D was something that was gonna be a part of my life, it felt like when it like the TikTok that's just like, oh no, like, but real life. But and it's strange because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that she doesn't play, to me anyway, in that she is in an improv group, and enjoys playing games and things like that. But she's just not into it, and that's okay. I've tried. I tried to encourage her, and I think I started getting into D&D. Well, a little while before the pandemic started, and I was watching Dimension 20. Like most of the time, I was watching it at work, right, and getting into it like with my coworkers, and hyping up about it. And I'm like, at home, I'm like, well, she's not showing a lot of interest in watching this, so I'm not going to put her through that. But then when the pandemic hit, and it was like, okay, well, we're at home together all the time. And we were continuing, playing from home, remotely and everything. She kind of was forced to be in the same room with somebody who's playing D&D all the time and talking about D&D and watching D&D. And, after all that, and even after it was when, I don't know if you guys watched the A Crown of Candy season of Dimension 20.
I did, yes.
There you go. Yeah, she watched that entire thing with me and enjoyed it, but I think it's just like a lot of focusing, and if it's not your thing and you don't like play, I guess, and you don't have interest in playing, you just don't get into it, I guess. But she is the most supportive, when I'm playing on, early on a Sunday morning or whatever. There's been multiple occasions where she's like come in to bring me, food, and brought me a Bloody Mary in the middle of the session. I'm DMing and she's like bringing me Bloody Marys. She's very, very sweet about it, but unfortunately it's just not her thing, and I think it's valid. She kind of growing up, like, being like a young queer person for her meant kind of playing this part in a different kind of way and in a not fun way. So I think that kind of manifested as like, well, I don't want to dress up for Halloween. It's not fun. I don't want to, I don't want to play pretend. I want to, like, she's a Capricorn is what I'm getting at.
I'm surprised at that, because to me it was almost like an outlet there, because it like Halloween a little bit and D&D. It's like, oh, I'm a hetero, my dudes. Carburetors, football. It's my character or the costume that I'm wearing that is giving you some weird vibes.
Mm-hmm. After all of it, I think it's just being a Capricorn, I think is. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But it's valid. I've tried everything in the book, and I even when I did try to get her to watch something else, she had at least learned enough of the game to, if I'm like, hey, can we watch this thing? She'd be like, roll a persuasion check. I failed the persuasion check, so that didn't work.
Oh, but that's so cute the way that like she's still trying to connect because it's a big part of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Still
fact that they made the joke is already a success.
So it's nice. And also the thing is we're together all the time. We kind of don't do separate things, right? Like we work in the same office now. We live places we've lived together have been very small places. And
Now it's just you, her, and the exotic birds.
yes, and the dog and the cat, but other than that, it's yeah, I mean we don't go anywhere separately. Like we don't drive. If one of us is going to go to the store, the other one's going to go to the store. Like we just don't we like each other a lot, you know.
Lauren, we know y'all are lesbians. We know that you just stuck together.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. The stereotype is real though. My best friend just told me, and she was like, "We're moving in together," and I was like, "Yeah, when are you getting married?" We've been together for maybe a year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's real. It's real. We met one night and then just I literally wouldn't leave her apartment. I just wouldn't go anywhere. So the stereotype is very real. So, but yeah, we like being around each other a lot, and I think me doing D&D is kind of that time where like you kind of have to have your own thing, you know. So it's kind of good, you know. She'll take that time to do other things that she's been needing to do, but doesn't want to do while, say, we're watching a movie, or it gives her the time to do other things. And like when she does her improv, she does her improv online as well, and that gives me time to do other things, and it works for us,
And that makes sense because I have wrote my significant other into D&D, and then so for me it's mostly like playing video games on like I have specific nights that I get out with my friends, and she doesn't like get into those games as much, and so that's because we also have the D&D together. These other times and it's like are designated. I'm gonna go do my thing, you go do your thing, because we are constantly, doing everything else with one another. So it's sort of this will be my little thing over here on occasion.
So there needs to be a little bit of separation, which is nice.
I mean, yeah, I feel like if you nonstop are around the same person, like every waking moment, like could you even hear your own thoughts? You need like an hour a week at the very least to sort of like remember what other people like. I mean, that's mostly at pandemic times right now of like, weren't there other human beings outside this house? Which, I mean, luckily we don't get at each other's throats, but I have heard like people have started like fighting a lot because they're at home like together all the time. And I was like, yeah, no, nothing's really changed here. We're mostly just watching RuPaul's Drag Race and playing Dungeons and Dragons as usual.
I love it. I love it. It's beautiful.
Well, so do we need to flip? If I'm the only one that's got their significant other roped into this full-time job hobby, maybe we should just connect it to. It doesn't have to be you should treat all of your players like significant others.
I mean,
Wow.
they are.
As a DM, I treat every single one of them like I'm going to have to sleep next to them after the session's over.
And sometimes as a DM, you do that in character.
I have had that happen.
My players want to flirt with everybody, so it's just
yes,
that's how it goes,
I had a player once, a single player, no shock here, given the story. This player was like, okay, I'm going to. They like stopped in town. He's like, I'm gonna go to the brothel or something. I was like, all right. I was like, well, there's like a really nice one in town, and then there's like a cheap one. And I told him like the various prices of like, hey, if you're doing that for the night, this is the amount you would pay. Well, he picks the nice one and pays it And then I turned to someone because they asked a question. I started doing it with him. He's like, "Well, are we gonna role play it?" And I was like, "Sure." And it went a little far. Like I was like, I guess if you go in, I just like describe the building, and he was just like, "Well, no, like you have my character pay money. I want this to be an experience." And I'm like, I'm not describing a lap dance to you.
You can
You
pay me money. This is my Venmo, please tip.
That's when real money needs to be transferred.
You slide a single into my dice bag, and I will tell you what they're wearing.
Listen, I love the fade to black. The fade to black, that's
Yes.
yep.
Sorry, I don't
But
have
honestly, guys,
imagination.
I think we're onto something. I think we need to start a D&D brothel in which we
Oh,
get paid
God.
to describe and play Dungeons and Dragons.
A real
Age-
one?
Adrian, were you there for this one?
I don't. Not the one you're describing right now.
The D&D. She said start a D&D brothel.
I wasn't
Weren't
there for
you
that.
there for that?
I don't believe. Like my characters were part of a brothel.
My wife and 3 other players decided they were opening a chain of brothels in D&D,
Okay.
and they actually managed them as businesses.
I did not. I was not there for that one.
Oh.
Sorry.
But yeah, my wife played a centaur that was a stripper.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, see, unless your wife's played multiple centaurs.
No, it was just that once.
Was I part of
would
the
think it would
brothel and
be
I don't
memorable.
remember? Yeah, right.
You had to have been.
Oh, God. I know my character did an idiotic move with a deck of many things, and then I had to play the pretty boy, Raph, the centaur. I think he was like, I don't know. He was like
the boy toy I gave. My
essentially, yeah.
wife inside the
I was
game.
your wife's boy toy for a couple sessions until I got my soul back, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Then you are definitely part of the D&D the D&D brothel situation.
What is going on with my head? Why is there must have been something else going on at the time in my real life that blocked that out. I am so sorry. I'm not remembering it.
Boo.
I know.
Yeah, they had a whole
was
collection
there.
of names like the Clam Jam and
Okay, I'm remembering that one.
there it is.
It's slowly coming back to me. God, I was a part of a brothel, or I was hosting brothel things. I don't know. What the hell? Why don't I remember this?
The inverse of what's going to happen is we're going to get old.
Mm-hmm.
Our memory is going to start failing us. We're going to lose the ability either A, to determine what is a memory from our life and what is a D&D memory, or B, like lose the wherewithal to like flag the story you're about to tell as either a real life story or D&D story, and you're just going to be talking to your grandkids and you're going to be like, hey, so this one time I was at a brothel and this horse lady is on the stage, hooves everywhere.
Hooves for days. Oh my God.
I mean, there are worse ways to go, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Telling your children about horsewomen.
I mean, they're not. Your children are no longer going to bring the grandchildren over to your house, but there's a bridge to cross when you get there. Or the alternative is if you don't have children or grandchildren, then you are just telling strangers, and they will absolutely lack the context.
I saw my friend get killed by a giant octopus.
And then the octopus started getting friendly with the tow truck.
Are we just saying out of context campaign things? I murdered man.
No, we went right back to Cars again.
I went back to the Cars fan fiction.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Like, I knew I was going to enjoy myself today because y'all are wonderful. I just didn't know where it would go, and here we are.
I don't think any of us could have possibly anticipated this.
It's the journey, you know? It's the
Yeah.
hero's journey.
I think the hero's journey has changed a little bit since I last checked in on the cliche, but I'm not mad. We've seen enough of the orphan falling in love with the princess, I think, for one lifetime. So if the hero's journey is just mufflers and tentacles, that's the Hollywood we live in now.
Oh boy.
I found it.
No!
Oh,
Oh no!
I want the opening paragraph.
It's called The Rite of Passage.
Yes.
What?
Can you control F the word ka-chow?
Does
Oh
it
my
have a
God.
dash, or is it just one word, or is it two words?
Or do they spell it differently multiple times?
You gotta check for all of that.
Lightning rolled into one of the dusk-lit cargo areas of the Piston Cup. His mind flashed back again to several different times these past few days that he's seen Chick talking to someone unseen in Chick's garage.
So Adrian,
Curious.
you've gotta transition here and have music, like really sultry music, and she'll just read the whole thing.
Yes.
And that'll just be the end of the podcast.
Can you get a soundbite of Owen Wilson saying "wow" and then use that as like when you like play the keyboard and it like auto tunes it into different notes and just compose an entire song with that and then play that in the background? There's gonna be people who listen to this, and if any of the Cars stuff stays, if they have not seen Cars, they will not understand ka-chow or Owen Wilson or mufflers or
They won't know what cars are if they haven't seen the movie Cars.
true.
How would you know?
It's the only time I've ever seen them. Oh,
He made to move forward, but something was tangled around his front axle.
This is a Chuck Tingle novel, and I can't be convinced otherwise.
God, Chuck
He
Tingle.
tried shaking it off, then froze as whatever it was began moving.
Yes.
I remember.
Everyone stop
I don't know.
listening now.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. There was this one time where we just had Chuck Tingle playing in the background while I was at your place. I don't.
That makes sense. That sounds like my MO. The man wrote a book about a man falling in love with his own private jet and then bottoming 4-7 private jet. You can't get more art than that.
He also did like. Did he do the Harry Potter knockoff thing with a? I don't think it's Chuck Tingle, but it's like this weird fanfic that goes into like a sauropod going to Hogwarts, and it's just a whole bunch
Chuck
of
Tingle's typically inanimate objects in men.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you
Gosh.
for linking it.
You're welcome.
Gosh. Hey, do you want to wrap up that scene before we close the tab?
No, it's a long scene. We do talk about shafts,
Mhm.
increasing in size, which I didn't know Cars did that when they got excited. So
Hey, hi everybody. I'm Tanner, your guest host for the Countdown to Zero listeners. We'll be here reading this thing in its full until you're all gone.
We can literally say anything from here on out. I don't think anybody's stuck around.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
matter.
You could. Okay, I'm gonna start reading my credit card number.
It's the little.
That's
Easter
how
egg.
we'll know. Only the super fans will be able to steal my identity.
well, Adrian,
Well, yes, Alex. So this was supposed to be a D&D podcast, right? It's fine. I
sometimes a D&D podcast.
that should be. It's not another D&D podcast. It's sometimes a D&D podcast.
Oh my god.
We have to change our banner on our Twitter and everything.
To just Lightning McQueen. Just that.
Ka-chow.
For no reason. For 3 weeks, they will not have any context. Did you guys get hacked?
I hope that when you do the special guest banners, you just don't put Tanner
Just
right.
Lightning.
Just put Lightning McQueen.
Lightning McQueen and Dan Stevens. Maybe Lightning McQueen being driven by Dan Stevens.
No. Lightning McQueen with Dan Stevens' creepy blue eyes, and
Yes.
just the windshield with his eyes, and that's. I'll Photoshop that for you, and I'll send that right over, Adrian.
I think
The
that's
quote is just
necessary.
gonna be Ka-chow. It's not gonna have. That's it.
We
Or-
had some touching moments in this episode. It was not all tentacle porn and cars, but we have driven ourselves.
You know what? Sometimes life is a highway.
And if you want to ride away,
You gotta ride it. You gotta ride it all the way.
welcome to Lauren's Rascal Flat Fancast. A podcast within a podcast.
I'm ready for my spin-off.
Don't spin out yet. We're not there.
So much.
Oh my god.
If it's any consolation, I listen to a podcast that's about video games, and they do this at the beginning. They always start screaming obscenities about, disgraced Republican politicians and just making up some farcical narrative about how they have an obsession with ducks or something. And it'll go on for 10 minutes. And it's delightful, but then eventually one of them will go, "Isn't this a video game podcast?" And they'll have to rein it all back in.
So at least our spiral happened at the end, so people can just click out.
Unless we're not pros yet, and we should start spiraling early and then just sort of wind ourselves back together.
Well,
There is a full loop. We do loop. If you like a loop, we've looped a couple of times.
just like a racetrack.
Well, like my favorite movie, Cars, looping is the idea.
just turning right or turning
And that's
left
usually-
continuously until you get back to the spine point.
And that's usually the hero's journey. They always end up back where they started.
No progress is ever made. They end up right back at that village, at that inn, at that tavern.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
But every time you have to take a pit stop, it's really not that bad. Just self-care.
Self-care.
I could do this forever. This is the best.
When life shows you that maintenance thing, sometimes it's okay to ignore it. No, don't ignore it. That's not a good idea. I mean, I do it, but don't be me.
Don't let yourself run low on gas. You have to fill up every once in a while.
Ka-chow.
So here we are.
Here we are.
Lauren, is there anything you want to tell the last listener that's still, for whatever reason, listening at this point?
The person that's fallen asleep.
Who missed
Yes.
the whole
behind their
Ka-chow
wheel-
bit
the
and
wheel
then
of
came
their
back
Chevy
right now.
Trans Am.
I'm so sorry.
Do you want to plug anything?
Please do not leave me on the internet. Please don't. No. If you want to check out my Instagram, it's Lauren Nicole Art on Instagram.
Tanner, would you like to plug anything?
Yeah, if you want to at me and tell me about how your life has fallen apart after the past hour and a half of listening, I can be found on Twitter at Leah Vargas, which is LIEVARGUS. And I'm sorry, this doesn't reflect who I am as a person. It was a different time. That time way back a minute ago when I said ka-chow. I've grown since then, and this doesn't reflect me.
Oh.
Well, dear listener, thank you so much for getting to this point.
Not plural.
Just the one. If you, for whatever reason, want to share this, please feel free to share it. Maybe not to your parents or your grandmother. Maybe to your singular friend who has that weird affinity for just strange things on the internet. If you feel inclined, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and now TikTok at Dungeons and Degrees. Yes, Dungeons and Degrees. We have changed our usernames. If you're following us, it doesn't matter because you're already still there. So thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. You can join the ranks and help us grow our podcast if you want to. We also have a Discord now, so if you want to come hang out with us on Discord, we would love to hear you and maybe your evaluation of how our lives have spiraled post-COVID. If all of that doesn't sound great, feel free to rate us on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
Give us 5 stars, or you'll never be able to ka-chow again.
Oh, is that the sound they make at the end? I don't. Anyways.
Are you trying to hold on? We've gone through this whole thing, and you were just now telling us that you don't think you know what ka-chow means?
No, I'm talking about the end of the book. Or the fanfic. That's how he finishes. Anyways, thank you for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
Go have some fun.
Ka-chow.